Hey everyone, happy Tuesday. This is First Warn Storm Team Chief Meteorologist Brad Penrose with your Tuesday weather update. We're going to be a quick update on what's going on across the Carolinas and kind of highlight some of the things I'm keeping an eye on today. The first thing you notice if you're outside early this morning, we've got a nice breeze going on out there because we've got a front and a low pressure system near the coast, which is kind of the old remnant low of Julia, which was a depression and a storm, really weak system, kind of merged with the front, and now it's sitting there on the coast and it's kind of rotating counterclockwise. So today across most of the western Carolinas, we've got a nice northerly breeze. It's actually pretty gusty at times. You could see up to 10, maybe 15-mile-an-hour winds, and a sharp edge to the cloud deck. You see the clouds are much thicker east of I-77, and as you go to the west, it becomes a little more sunny. Let me throw you some of the temperatures on here right now. You can see temperatures for the most part are in the 60s and 70s, actually pretty nice morning out there. Dew points are still kind of high, so let me show you the dew point temperatures. We're still in the 60s, but there is some drier air beginning to work in across the western part of the state. You can see dew points right now generally basically in the 50s. That's not too bad. We would take that any time of year, but that low is sitting out near the coast, and there it is. Let me throw the radar on real quick, and you can see most of the precipitation associated with this system is right around the low, which is just off the southern Outer Banks, just east of Carteret County, and just kind of sitting there and spinning. It might what we call retrograde a little bit back to the west, which means it might move a little bit in this direction, which could bring some of these showers back to the southwest, and that's certainly something I'm keeping an eye on, because when you see these short-range models, which I'll show you here, our good old HRR model that we show you quite a bit. I'm going to start this morning. You can see we're dry, but then watch as we go into the afternoon. This is around 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock. We start to see some of this rain try to rotate back through the sandhills, maybe even all the way back to the Charlotte area by later tonight. I think most of this is going to stay to the east. The air around us is pretty dry, and it looks like we're going to stay basically right in underneath a lot of this cloud cover to the east and basically the sunshine to the west. As we look back to the west, speaking of that, I'll turn the radar off because this is all ground clutter basically. We've got a pretty strong cold front that's going to try to move in from the northwest. Now what this is going to do Wednesday and Thursday, high pressure up in here is going to move over New England, and that's going to set up the Carolina wedge, which should be a pretty interesting setup for Wednesday and Thursday. Could really thicken up the clouds and keep us kind of on the cool side, which is actually not a bad thing. So we actually could see some cooler temperatures, mainly because of clouds and northeast winds. Now that's the number one question I've been getting lately, is when are we going to see cooler weather? Now this is the GFS ensemble mean. Now don't look at these numbers precisely. I look at this more for trends, and you could see we definitely have a little bit of a cool down for Wednesday and Thursday with some lower 80s. This weekend, ahead of a cold front, that cold front I just showed you up in the Midwest, we're going to see temperatures spike up close to 88 or 90 degrees. 90 will be close. I think Saturday will be a decent chance. But look what happens on Sunday, back in the 60s. And then look at this stretch of weather, upper 60s and near 70. That's right around average, if just not a degree or two above. The key part here is the morning lows in the 50s. So while not a huge cool down, this is back to where we should be for this time of year. So if you're hoping for some cooler weather, give it a couple more days. By the end of the weekend and early next week, I promise you we will see some cooler weather. Coming up today at 4, 5, and 6 on NBC Charlotte, I'll talk about this heat that's been sticking around. We'll be tracking that low on the coast, and we'll look ahead to this cooler pattern. Maybe I'll break it down a little more on how long it could be sticking around as we look long range into the rest of the autumn. Hope you're having a great Tuesday, and I'll see you today starting at 4.